Spoštovane gospe in cenjeni gospodje, drage kolegice in kolegi, spoštovane študentke in študenti, zlasti prvih letnikov, odlično, da ste tukaj z nami. Z eno nogo ste že vstopili v svoje vsebine, čudovito. Na nek način smo skoraj da v nekakšni čudežni deželi tudi mi, kajti megla je okoli nas in visoko smo tukaj na gradu. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear students, I am delighted to warmly greet you today on behalf of Faculty of Design, Fakultete za Design, on the occasion of the new European Bauhaus Day 2022. The new European Bauhaus Day is an initiative, creative, interdisciplinary one. It is a space of encounter, we could say, to design future ways of living. It is a meeting point between art, culture, social inclusion, science and technology, of course. Se pravi, novi Evropski Bauhaus je neke vrste pobuda, ustvarjalna, interdisciplinarna, je prostor srečanja, je prostor srečevanj, oblikovanja prihodnjih načinov življenja, je stičišče umetnosti, kulture, socialne, se pravi družbene vključenosti, ter seveda znanosti in tehnologije. So we are really excited to be here with you, to hear your stories and to write a new one, dynamic, living story that will keep writing itself for many years to come. I think so. Vse, ki nas spremljate preko kanalov digitalnih medijev, pa prav tako lepo pozdravljam. Be welcome with us. Gospe in gospodje, program bo pester, lepo se bomo imeli, začeli pa bomo s protokolom, kot se spodobi. Drage kolegice in kolegi, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce the opening speeches. Today, firstly, delivered by Acting Dean of Faculty of Design, Profesorica Nada Matičić. Be welcome and have a nice day with us. Prosim.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have you here again. Spoštovane študentke, cenjeni študenti, dragi gosti, predstavnice Vlade Republike Slovenije, warm welcome all other guests, all our foreign guests, and of course also guests from Slovenia. I'm so happy today because we are celebrating the second day of New European Bauhaus platform. And as you know, 2 years ago, we became a serious partner of this platform with the main seat in Brussels, and happy because I am also an architect and a designer. And of course, my way of life is a way of life full of creativity and wonderful moments. Especially with you, dear students, we can create a better future of the world. The new European Bauhaus, as we already heard a little bit, is a creative and interdisciplinary initiative convening a space of encounter to design future ways of living situated at the crossroads between art, culture, social inclusion, science, and technology. It brings a Green Deal to our living places and calls for a collective effort to imagine and build a future that is sustainable, inclusive, and beautiful for our minds and for our souls. 10 days ago, I have been in Kaunas, a European town of culture. It was really very creative teams with former president of BEDA, our European Association of All Industrial Designers. And of course, we created plans for the future and how is design important and how to put it in the policy strategies. These are, of course, the words of New European Bauhaus, new old philosophy. Because in 1920, there has been already established Bauhaus School, in Germany, but also School of Architecture in Ljubljana. We are so proud of that because we have world-known experts, architects, designers, and so on. This philosophy of old new European Bauhaus is one of the most important strategies, very specific mission of transformation for professional design learning companies. It's very important that companies know that design is a strategy for better world, for better business. It is added value to the product, services, and so on. Leading by design. We all are leaders. We are leading our lives. We are leading our every day. Every morning, I stand up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it begins a wonderful day, full expectation, what's going on, what am I going to learn every day, and of course, we who are leading our lives can be successful only with our dearest collaborative teams. Without teams, without people who surround daily problems, we can do nothing. So there is no doubt that we are together with science, technology, and with all our knowledge, we try to build competencies of our young students, our young talents. New European Bauhaus says beautiful means inclusive, accessible spaces, sustainable solutions. We are enriching experiences. New European Bauhaus initiative connects European Green Deal to our living spaces. It calls on all Europeans to imagine and build together a sustainable and inclusive future that is beautiful for our eyes, mind, and for our souls. The New European Bauhaus is a creative and interdisciplinary movement. So, Faculty of Design is very proud to be in all these associations and platforms in Europe and according to the World Design Organizations as well. It's a platform of experimentation and connections. Here are our students, where we opened the last project in Občina Domžale. It was a wonderful place for intergeneration cooperation. It's an invitation to change perspective and to look at our green and digital challenges as opportunities to transform our lives for the better. New European Bauhaus, we are all the leaders, I have already said, and I would like to say, Viktor Papanek said, it's a wonderful book and everybody should read it every day. I do it for many, many years. All that we do, almost all the time, is design. For design is basic to all human activity. Inclusive with leading by design. Today is a wonderful day. I am so grateful to all of you who could come on this wonderful place, Ljubljanski grad, Castle of Ljubljana, in the middle of Slovenia. I'm looking forward to discuss with my distinguished guests all the problems, and we are going to build our better future of design and, of course, all of us. Thank you.
Najlepša hvala. Thank you so much. Hvala lepa, gospa dekanja, hvala lepa, Nada. In zdaj še drugi pozdravni nagovor. Our next distinguished speaker, who will deliver the second opening speech is Professor Dr. Rado Bohinc, who is coming from Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Ljubljana. He's also founder of Social Responsibility Platform. Dober dan vam želim in prosim, izvolite.
Hvala lepa, dobro jutro.
Pa bomo
Vsem skupaj.
pozdravili z aplavzom. Hvala.
Good morning, everybody. It's my honor and pleasure to share with you some ideas referring to corporate social responsibility. Social responsibility of corporations, a very, very important issue for the modern world. Very important issue for sustainable development. An important issue for responsible business conduct. However, the understanding of corporate social responsibility, let me use the abbreviation CSR, okay? It will be shorter. So the understanding of CSR in the world is very diverse. And so the implementation. The implementation more or less depends on goodwill of people running big corporations. So the title that I have given to this lecture, to this short contribution, is CSR Crumbs from a Rich Man Table. Drobtinice z bogatinove mize, to vas spominja na Cankarja verjetno. Or responsible business conduct. Of course, I'm urging for the latter. There are a number of concepts. CSR as ethical concept, ethical issue. CSR as marketing tool. However, the only right one is CSR as a support to sustainable development. So a challenge for new development concepts. What is the driving force for CSR? Is it politically visual orientation? Namely, it is a sea of documents, political, legal, different recommendations, declarations, and so on, referring to CSR. However, none of them is binding to declare responsibility as a legal bound obligation. So for this reason, we are thinking that it is more or less politically desired, politically wishful orientation. A majority of motivation of driving force is marketing issues. So how to promote the trademarks, how to promote the reputation of corporations, to persuade, to penetrate the market with good ethical projects. And yes, ethical behavior, ethical driving force. Again, the only right CSR driving force is responsible business conduct and sustainable development challenge. The definitions that are prevailing and has to do with some political and legal documents of the European Union is that corporate social responsibility is a specific business culture, a specific approach. It is a voluntary integration of social and environmental concerns into business, into interaction with stakeholders. But see, the objectives of corporate social responsibility are very important. Observance of human rights, ethical, labor, decent payment, and other employment practices, consideration of environmental and climate issues, combating bribery and corruption. And here's the question: can these very, very important goals be left to the voluntary decisions of managers? The answer is no. Those who decide upon these issues, those who integrate social and environmental issues to business strategies, must have a legal duty to do so. So CSR shall not be left to more or less ethic of managers. We have different types of managers of big corporations, like moral managers, those who employ ethical norms, professional conduct, and so on. We have also a number of immoral managers, those whose decisions, actions, and behavior are unethical, immoral. They do not respect justice, due process, and all of these things. And we also have so-called amoral managers, those who are not neither immoral nor moral, but simply they are not sensitive for these issues. They are not sensitive for negative effects of their activities to nature, to society. So the corporate social responsibility should not depend upon different type of morality of managers and different type of understanding what is moral. Voluntary concept of CSR rests on the illusion that companies are aware and feel responsible that they contribute to sustainable development, that they contribute to good business conduct just by enhancing economic growth and competitiveness, by doing business. However, only voluntary, they promote environmental and climate protection, and they promote social responsibility. Only voluntary, depending on the interest of a company. This is not the way to implement such an important concept as social responsibility is. So the basic issue here is either voluntary or binding CSR approach. So CSR as a voluntary business approach and culture, as an ethical way of doing business, as a marketing tool for strengthening brand reputation of a company, and so on, depending of different understanding on the level of management of each corporation. And secondly, which should be supported, which is on a principal level, also EU concept, that CSR, corporate social responsibility, is a responsibility for enterprises with regards to their impact on society. So enterprises are responsible for their impacts to society. Unfortunately, this is, again, more or less recommended by EU documents and not implemented in corporate legislation. And my point here is CSR needs legal and institutional push. So to fully meet this concept of responsibility for the impacts on society, Each company should prepare a process to integrate social, environmental, ethical, human rights, consumer concerns into business operation. So they need to prepare a process in the company how to implement such a concept. And secondly, they need to adopt a strategy in collaboration with stakeholders, not just with shareholders, where they identify, prevent, and mitigate possible adverse impacts on people, planet, and prosperity. Such a strategy should be enacted in each corporation. The result is zero, not zero, very, very poor, very poor. Because this is not obligatory. It is just depending on goodwill and, again, ethical approach of a certain manager. The role of public authorities here in facilitating and enhancing corporate social responsibility is very weak, unfortunately. It is said in one of the EU documents that the development of CSR should be led by enterprises themselves. This is wrong. Public authorities has important obligations here as well. And not just to leave voluntary policy measures, but also complementary regulation, legal rules to promote transparency, to create market incentives, to ensure corporate accountability, and there are different fields where the regulation is needed. Only principles and guidelines and recommendations, what we have right now, is not sufficient vehicle, not sufficient mechanism to promote corporate social responsibility. The concept that corporate social responsibility is the responsibility for enterprises with regard to their impact on society is a right one, is a step forward, because it says it's a responsibility of companies. However, such a responsibility of enterprises with regard to of the impact on society was never codified as directors' duty. Directors of corporations do not have legal duties to implement corporate social responsibility as a sustainable development concept. So no corporate legislation reform took place to introduce CSR as director duties. This is one of the reasons for diverse understanding of CSR, of poor implementation of CSR in companies' business. The fact is that CSR today is more or less recommended, politically wishful, rather than legally binding directors' duties, as I already mentioned. Let me conclude with just one statement. CSR should not be left to goodwill of and understanding of ethic of different managers. It should be legally regulated in different fields like corporate law, environmental law, consumers law, labor law, human rights law, and so on. It is a prerequisite, legal regulation is a prerequisite for uniform understanding CSR as a binding duty and for successful implementation. And let me conclude that there are several cases in different states in the world of such regulation, and very successful steps were made accordingly. Thank you very much for your attention and have a nice day.
Hvala lepa za ta prispevek, hvala lepa za besede. And now there are some honorable speeches ahead of us. Pred nami so kar trije častni nagovori. I am happy and honored to have the opportunity to introduce Mr. Borut Cink, new European Bauhaus, platform Brussels. Selimo se torej v Bruselj. Dobrodošli, lepo pozdravljeni.
Spoštovana dekanja, profesor Matičič, spoštovani profesorski zbor, spoštovane študentke in študenti, dear speakers, guests and participants. It is my honor to address you on behalf of the European Bauhaus unit, which resides in the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. And before going further with the address, allow me to also thank the Professor Matičić and the Faculty of Design for another great edition of the Urban October. But not only that, also for being an active member of a new European Bauhaus community that grew to 650 members in the last 2 years. We have more than 100 research and education institutions, architectural studios, municipalities, NGOs from all walks of life and fields and subjects working towards creating a movement that accompanies the new European Green Deal. Madame von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, said if the European Green Deal had a soul, it is new European Bauhaus. And this is what we strive for. And this is also what I see today in the program, which looks fantastic, and it highlights the power of design in innovating and co-creating the solutions that are transforming our world. And also, new European Bauhaus is all about transformations. We strive, we want to aspire to transform the places on the ground. We want to transform the enabling ecosystem for innovation, and we want to transform in a way of diffusing new meanings through education and culture. Design and creative sectors play a pivotal role here. On one hand, it's the homage to the original Bauhaus, which some also label as the birth of design as we know it today. And on the other hand, it's the designers that combine different nodes, different elements in the society to work together, to break the silos, and to work together in developing new and better solutions that we need today and tomorrow. Uh, Allow me to reflect also a bit on the role of higher education institutions in the European Bauhaus movement. It is not the European Commission that sets the agenda. It is always the members of the community. And what came out of the co-design phase, where the new European Bauhaus, as it is implemented today, was designed, developed, and agreed upon, was that we are also looking for a paradigm shift. And here the role of education providers, especially also higher education institutions, is pivotal. It is not only about the technology that will enable us the green transition and to fight the climate change. It is as much important that we change our behaviors today with the older generations, the middle generations, as also the young ones. And here the education sector has, as I said, a pivotal role, and I also count on your support here to contribute. And how you can contribute to it is to basically implement and add to the body of knowledge and to the activities of the new European Bauhaus. The new European Bauhaus is not what we think in Brussels. It's not what we say in Brussels that it should be, but it's actually what we all do together. What we strive for at the new European Bauhaus unit and the European Commission in general is to bring together these different nodes of the community across Europe and beyond to be aligned and to share knowledge and to learn from each other. And in that sense, also developing maybe a school of thought under the NEP umbrella, what NEP is, how to research it, what it means in different contexts. We are seeing more and more examples of this from across the higher education institutions across Europe. We have the PhD programs coming up that are being assigned to this specific field. We are seeing different faculties also of design aligning their study programs to the new European Bauhaus values, beautiful, sustainable, and and inclusive inclusion on one hand, and the working principle where we highlight the participatory approach, multi-level approach, and transdisciplinarity. So the options are open, and my invitation today for all of you is to join this movement in the making and to contribute to it. We will be very grateful, the world will be very grateful, and together we can definitely make 1+1 3. Thank you very much again for the invitation and opportunity to speak to you today. I wish you a successful event with fruitful discussions and inspiring outcomes. And again, consider joining also the Bauhaus movement by yourself. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Najlepša hvala, thank you so much. Yes, it's all about the transformation. Hvala lepa tudi za odlične želje za današnji dan. Naša naslednja govorka, tako moram reči, our next distinguished speaker is Päivi Tahkokaljo, advisor of the board of Ornamo Art and Design Finland, former president of BEDA. So be welcome with us, and the floor is yours. Prosim. I would like to ask you to unmute, please.
I'm sorry about this. It's already rare to be present online, so forgive me for forgetting my microphone off. Well, I'll start anew. The weather forecast for Ljubljana today tells me that it might be close to +20 degrees later today and rather sunny. Now, I want you to imagine light gray skies, snow falling heavily with a few minus degrees, and snow already covering the ground. Everything around you is white. This is today at where I live. So my very best greetings to all of you at the Urban October from the Arctic, 3,500 kilometers north from Ljubljana, almost as north as you can get in Europe. The new European Bauhaus. It is indeed an initiative bringing art, architecture, and design together with many, many other disciplines to create solutions needed to mitigate climate change in Europe and beyond, just as Borut just was saying. And it demands as much an environmental, economical, social, and cultural approach, a very cross-disciplinary. So NEB is not only about climate, it's about our way of life and values in Europe. What I want to say is that it's an absolutely unique initiative from the European Commission. For the very first time, I say, in EU's history, positioning creative fields at the very center of finding solutions to a systemic challenge. And one of the challenges, which is the most biggest challenge we have ever faced, for that matter. So, again, as Borut was saying and was said before already, it was kicked off soon 2 years ago with a co-design phase unheard of. A 6-month phase when any organization, any business, any individual in Europe could contribute in sharing thoughts, ideas, research, best practices on the thematics, and more than 2,000 did so. Now, at the moment, new European Bauhaus lighthouse demonstrations, labs, many other projects are running. Hundreds of organizations have partnered with NEB. A growing number of friends have joined. 2 editions of NEB prizes have been awarded. The first festival has been organized. By the way, with more than 100 satellite events in all corners of Europe. But NEB has also been criticized and is criticized for being much too vague, its ambitions much too unclear, quite rightly so. But do not forget, each of you, that the new European Bauhaus in its very core is a bottom-up effort. Just like in the very first half-year co-design phase, it is our initiative, our call, our voice counts. So what I want to encourage you all to do, all individuals, not the institutions only, make your voice heard. Take part in creating the new European Bauhaus for it to become your new European Bauhaus, and giving it an identity that will help create the Europe you want to live in the future. If you don't, others will define it and do it for you. So it's a co-creation process from day one to the very last day. And it's worth noting that the original Bauhaus became a movement that has lasted for 100 years. To get started, and this is important, think hard about what climate change, a vast, complex, multi-layered challenge, means to you. For me, living up in the very most northern corner in the Arctic Europe, the answer is actually easy. Recent research shows that if the temperature in the world on average will rise with 2 degrees, and even this is too much, as we all know, it will rise 4 times as much in the Arctic region. 8 degrees. The spillover effects will affect the whole world, you included, 3,500 kilometers away, through melting ice and permafrost to begin with. And as the president of Finland said a few years back already, if the Arctic dies, the world dies. So for me, this is the time to do what I can, and my tool is design. You figure out what is yours, because it will be part of your identity as well. So I wish you all very fruitful discussions through the new European Bauhaus Day at Urban October. And I want to thank warmly you, Nada, for inviting me. Thank you.
Hvala lepa. Thank you so much. Also on behalf of our Dean, Nada Maticic. Thank you. Yes, now is the time. And now is the time that, and thank you to your words, our voice should be heard. And now the next honorable speech, next, our distinguished speaker is Dr. Luisa Bocchetto, architect, designer, and senator of World Design Organization. Hello, dober dan.
Hello, you can hear me? You can hear me well? Hi. I'm very happy to be there. Oh.
You can start, please, Dr. Luisa.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here with all of you. I want to say thanks to Nada Matic and the Faculty of Design of Ljubljana to be here today with all these people. We are today discussing about design 100 years after the starting of a discipline inside the Bauhaus in Dessau in Germany. Design born to the consequences of the Industrial Revolution, the use of new materials that create the possibility to offer to a larger number of people affordable products. It was a democratic issue to give more quantity of beauty to more people as possible. For 100 years, the program, form and function was the formula for defining good design. But now we are in a new revolution, the digital one that changed all the 4 pillars of design: the project, the production, the distribution, and the communication. And we are facing now not only to product, but also with process and services. Dematerialization and sustainability are the new paradigm of design that become not related only to industrial production, but also to a cultural and a social involvement with the goal to create a better world. In ICSI, the International Council of Society of Industrial Design, that changed the name in World Design Organization in 2017 after 60 years, the published definition of design was related only to products. The new one talk about product, process, and services. We changed the name, the definition, and the vision, and we need to work for a better world. We all, designer companies, universities, schools, designer organization, the foundation of design, signed the deep involvement to promote by our work the United Nations goal for 2030. At the center of our work, there is no more only the man, the needs, desire, and wishes, but the planet. We need to take care to the planet for us and for the new generation. We continue to realize excellent products, but thinking also to the sustainability of them in a long term. Reduce consumption of energy and materials, reduce cost of packaging and transport, offer a repair of product as a service for users, quality of design to face, reduce of waste, disassemblability at the end of the life of product, the reuse of material with new material, reduction of use of energy. Cities are the platform where more problems are related today and in the future. Urbanization, pollution, access to public services, reduction of waste, reduction of use of water and energy. Designer can work in team with other operators to contribute to some of these problems. It is an opportunity of work for young designers. Thinking to work not only with companies, but also with institutions, foundations, cities, and create new services. Sustainability is not only respect for the new nature around us, the planet, but also for social impact, good quality of life of people, democracy, and same opportunities for all. My message is we need to create less products, probably, and more solutions. Thank you so much for the attention and good work for this day of work in Ljubljana.
Hvala lepa. Thank you so much. Mille grazie. Thank you for your main message, which is very important, to produce less but better. Thank you so much. And now we are starting with our expert contributions. Torej začenjamo z našim, lahko bi rekli, simpozijem, strokovnimi vsebinami. In vesela sem, da lahko na začetku napovem, Assistant Professor Dr. Petra Bole, Director of the Museum of Apiculture, Bees Can Save the World is the title of her contribution. And please, dobrodošli, Petra, izvolite, odar je vaš.
So, good morning, dear guests, students. Thank you for the invitation. Today I will talk about the bees and the story which we created in the Beekeeping Museum in Radolica. So, well, yes, my story with the honeybees began when I started to work as a director of the Museum of Apiculture in Radolica. That was 3 years ago. Otherwise, I come from the field of architecture, design, teaching, and before that, I really had no clue about bees. So soon when I came to the museum and I wanted to design the new exhibition, which was already 20 years old at the time, I realized that without knowing bees, their lives, their communication, their order, harmony which they have, that won't be possible at all. So I became a beekeeper. I designed and built a bee house, which is specific for Slovenia. And I bought 2 bee families. So this is like when you get children in the family. And well, yes, my career began. I think in this time, in these 3 years, I really fell in love with the bees, and their life is absolutely amazing. It's really something that you cannot believe that it's true. So today I will talk about if the bees can save the world. I warmly invite you to the Beekeeping Museum in Radolica, where we present the life of Apis mellifera carnica. This is our Cornelian bee. In those 3 years, we renovated the museum, we set up the new exhibition, which is titled Living Together About Bees and Mankind. We got a Balvazor Award for this exhibition. Now we are nominated for the Best Slavic Museum, so finger crossed, the jury will decide at the beginning of November. And yes, we published 4 books, but well, let's start at the beginning. Albert Einstein once said, if the bees disappeared off the surface of the earth, then man would have only 4 years of life left, and that's true. So we are really not aware how important are bees. And beekeeping, maybe you are wondering why, maybe, I don't know. Bees are very important for the pollination. So that means that every sort of spoon put, it depends on bees. But human beekeeping has been practiced for a long time, for millennium, since ancient Egypt, since ancient Greece. And of course, honey was a long time the only sweet thing till 17th, 18th century. Bees are found on every continent except Antarctica. As I said, they are very important for pollination, producing honey and wax. The bee pollination is important both ecological and commercially, that we are talking about billions of dollars at that point. So in Slovenia, we are beekeeping with the Apis mellifera carnica. This is our Cornelian bee, which is covered with gray hairs. So we are call it grayish or siuka. And the homeland of Cornelian bee is Gorinska region, southeastern area of the Alps. And in Slovenia, we are, well, like specific. We have a law that means that we are allowed to be keeping only with this type of honeybee. Bees lives in a family. Without this family, single honeybee can survive. And in the family, it's always one boss, and this is a woman, a queen. And she lives up to 5 years and lay down approximately 2,000 eggs per day. So can you imagine 2,000, that you're making 2,000 babies per day? And she is very important because she has pheromones. With those pheromones, the harmony, the order in the bee family depends on. So then we have male and female bees. The male bees are drones. This is a drone. The drone, well, doesn't do nothing. Well, he is important for the harmony inside the family and for the fertilization of the queen. But otherwise, well, yes, it's not, he is very important, yes. And then we have the worker bees. They do all other tasks, all tasks from collecting nectar, pollen, taking care, cleaning, feeding, and so on. Well, the life inside the bee family is really fascinating. really a hive of bees will fly over like 40,000 kilometers to make only 1 kilo of honey. So can you imagine, well, how fantastic information that is. This is here you can see in the middle, this is a queen. She's a little bit bigger, and she usually don't fly around, except when she's going for her wedding ceremony. The worker bee, here you can see on her legs small baskets. This is pollen, very important, and this is a drone. Here you can see how the bees are keeping honey inside their homes, inside of the hexagonal cells, which is the most the space, mathematically the most economical space. They're keeping honey, which is covered with the wax. So let's move on to our museum. Museum of Apiculture was established in 1959. We have really special beekeeping heritage, which is some of these parts are only specific and unique for Slovenia, like our painted beehive panels, which are the frontal panels of the beehives called kronich. Then, for example, the bee houses, which we think that is something well, common, usual. In other countries, they don't know that type of a building. So in the new exhibition, which we set last year, we are presenting different topics from the life of Carniolian bee. We have an observation hive, so we have bees inside the museum. We have the biggest collection of painted beehive panels, almost more than 900. We have also different sorts of hives, which are very interesting from the architectural point of view. We are presenting crafts related to beekeeping, and of course, we are very aware of the actual problems that are going on in the field of honeybees. So because the honeybees are interact with humans on so many ways, different relationships, this exhibition is called Living Together About Bees and Mankind, some images from the museum. Painted beehive panels were in the 18th and 19th century frontal panels from the hives, which you can see here in the bee house. And they are like, well, I say usually they're like Google or Wikipedia today. Today we Google for example, Noah or relationship between men and women, and we get some information. In old times, they painted those information, and they are really from the biblical, from the New and Old Testament, till like this one, when of course a woman was talking too much, there was a devil, well, yeah, and he sharpened her tongue. But we have also some like pornographical motifs. So everything is painted on beehive panels, whole our history. This is the story about an old woman's mill. Well, when the husband thinks that his wife is too old or not too beautiful, he brings her to the devil inside the mill, and outside of this mill jumps a beautiful young lady. So yeah, this is the beekeeping heritage, which we keep in the museum. Slovenia was also the initiative for the World Bee Day, 20th of May. We have the first beekeeping teacher, that was Antoniansha, and so on. 100 years ago, there was also a huge trade with live bees. So till today, the honeybees is the most imported product ever in Slovenia. They were exported really to all continents all around the world. So still today we can find them in many countries. So we are talking also about urban beekeeping, which is very popular on the roofs of big cities. And now I will switch on my topic, which is, I think now the most actual. This is the pollination, food pollination. Well, not just honeybees are the pollinators, also the other animals, insects are important pollinators, like our bumblebees, which you can see right here. And during the development, many flowers have adopted their shape to bees. So there is a specific touch. They became more attractive, colorful, and fragrant for the pollinators. So in total, 80% of flowering plants worldwide are pollinated by insects, 80%. And bees pollinate like 90% of fruit trees, among others. So can you imagine that bees will disappear or they die? Bumblebees are also important pollinators. In Slovenia, there are 35 known species, and they are also very hard workers, starting to collect pollen and nectar early in the morning till the end of evening. Also, the butterflies, all those animals are important for the food we eat every day. So, but today is always a but. We are facing with the difficult threats, dangers, such as climate changes, pesticides, diseases like it is varroa for the honeybees, radiation, genetic changes, and aggressive agriculture. So that means that the bumblebees, butterflies, they don't have any space left to collect their food. So many species already died forever, among many butterflies, many bumblebees, and regarding the honeybees, there are a lot of problems with the varroa disease, which is all around the world. And so far we didn't find the medicine for this threat. And because of this varroa, this is the small insect who sucks the hemolympha of the bee family then dies. The wings are not developing at all. So what can we do? This may be the question. Well, yes, climate changes are here, but yes, we can build the homes for the solitary bees. We can we do not cut grass so every 2 weeks, so that the animals, the insects have their place to go. And if we see the farmers or our neighbors to use pesticides, we have to say it loud. Otherwise, I think it will be too late. So yeah, the role of the beekeeper is very important because of the treating with the medicine, feeding bees when there is not enough food in the nature. Yes. So I will conclude. Very welcome to our museum, or maybe if you would like to find out more about, you can read it in our books. We are also very proud that this red book was given to the Pope in Vatican. So he's also reading about the Apis mellifera carnica, and printed we have panels. So yes, that was all. Thank you and nice day.
Thank you so much for your beautiful presentation. Yes, to fall in love with the bees. That sounds great. I visited your museum. It's really fantastic. So I recommend it to everybody here. Thank you again. And now the next contribution, which will be delivered by Rosina Spinoi. No? Okay. Then Professor Dr. Hussam Eyewear. So please be welcome. School of Art and Design, Dundee, UK.
Hi. Hi, everybody. I have been told I've got only 5 minutes, so I will skip a lot of slides just for the sake of time. Now, what I will do, I just will share some factual important facts based on my experience in the UK It's not academic per se, it's practical, working with the Scottish government. This is some of the publication which I share with everyone. I want you to remember, Jane Jacobs said, cities have the capability of providing something for everybody only because and only when they are created by everybody. That's quite important. And one of my colleagues in DJ CAD, she is an artist, well-known artist. Her name is Hazel White. She said, co-design, co-decision makes vulnerable people powerful and powerful people vulnerable. That's very important when it's come to co-design. How do we mediate the power? Because power is often lopsided. We feel vulnerable sometimes to the doctors or to the politicians. Students feel vulnerable to their tutor. Those in front line staffing feel vulnerable to their staff or patients. Now there is a change in society and changing societal expectation. People expected to have a say and expected to be heard now. Everywhere, there is concerns about involvement in place shaping, in identity, informing change, lack of influence or powerlessness. But also there is distrust from councils, politicians, the loss of influence, population, services, confidence, fear of change, loss of identity, sometimes being let down by politicians or decision makers. So how can we help the community to shape their vision, whether it is city level or town level or neighborhood level? It's not acceptable anymore now just to inform the community or to hear them. In fact, community has to be part of the co-decision. They are real partner and they are real influencers. They are now, we need to reframe our citizen as a real collaborators. However, there is tensions when it's to come to engagement. Is it authentic in terms of, is it a theater where the decision has been made behind, or is it an open, transparent, inclusive process? And also, community is not expecting you only to hear them. They want delivery. They want to see what you deliver on the ground. They want to see tangible stuff on the ground. Otherwise, if you only hear them and you do consultation over consultation, that will lead to what they call it consultation fatigue. And this may, and consultation and co-design is no longer only about built environment or physical stuff. It's become also about health, in health, well-being, inequality, job opportunities, and over time, it may involve different stakeholders. It's not only about listening to community, but also acting. Plenty of talk and consultation and no action is a danger. And yes, yesterday we discussed this. Our places, our cities, our towns are messy, but equally our collaboration is very messy process, is very fuzzy process. But this needs passion, relationship, but also helping each other. And as Jane Jacobs said, this is about organizing complexity. Of course, this is not only about bottom up. We need this kind of mutual relationship. Establishing trust in Europe is very important. Hence, trust in Scandinavian countries higher than other European countries. Why? There is quite transparent relationship between the top down and the bottom up. And we as a decision makers and future decision makers has a big role to play to mediate this relationship between the top down and the bottom up. And I call ourselves, we are the middle in, middle out. Sometimes we may act on behalf of the top down. Sometimes we may act on behalf of the bottom up. So we have a different role to play. And this is all about stimulating emotional intelligence through social gathering. This is all about how do you respond to psychological or community groups rather than just treating them in generic way. Because community is not homogeneous. They have a different demands, different needs. Those who live in the center of Ljubljana will have a different needs from those who live in suburb or rural Ljubljana. And this is not only about technical knowledge, oh, I know the answers. This is about local knowledge. And who own local knowledge? The community. This is about correlating and bringing local knowledge with technical knowledge. So soft knowledge, my friend, soft knowledge is very key. But who owns the soft knowledge? It's not you, it's the local community. And some of the issues sometimes could be so emotional, so emotional. And also, what kind of tools and techniques we need? Do we use the right tools and techniques to get the community engaged? And how do we build capacity? Who should be involved in the process from the start to the finish? How do we identify them? Where are they? Where are they, those vulnerable group or hard to reach or seldom to hear? And who is responsible to find them and engage them? It's not about you to bring them to your contexts. It's about you going to their local contexts. And also, in the UK, we managed to, for the first time, to map the process of engagement. And we managed to find 3 important stages. The pre-engagement. Pre-engagement is so crucial. And we don't pay enough attention. There is tendency in Europe and in the UK, we bring the media all the time to the engagement stage, and we take a lot of photo, but do we really do enough study for the pre-engagement in the sense, who should involve, what is the issue, and have you agreed with the community on the aims and objectives? Why? Because sometimes we raise aspirations. And of course, you need to be positive and raise aspiration, but also the community wants an answer. They want to know whether this is possible or not. So pre-engagement becomes so essential, but also the engagement stage and how you get the community involved. In the UK now, the post-engagement, the follow-up becomes so crucial. Yes, we did engagement, so what? What happened next? Who is responsible to the overhanging? The results? Is it the community? Is it the private sector? Is it public sectors? Or is it the partners? So understanding the stages and the engagement process is really very key. And as I said, the co-design is only as good as what happened after. To keep the momentum, you need to have a clarity on the post-engagement. Tangible delivery. We need to start the delivery. Why? To keep momentum and also gain the trust and to get win-win from the community. Otherwise, if there is no delivery, that could lead to disillusion, growing distrust, or sense of deflations and cynicism. So overhanging, over-promising, and under-delivery is really a danger. Now, I am conscious of the time. I will finish with one conclusion. Early engagement of stakeholders and how you define them is really very key. Secondly, collaborative working on long-term stewardship cannot rest with one single hand, because there is always questions: who owns the co-design? Who owns it? Capacity building should start earlier in the process. And delivering vehicles and the roadmap of activities should be packaged into working streams, because the community wants to have clarity on who is going to deliver what and when, and where the funding might come from, and what role can the community play in this. Having a plan with consensus on a direction of travel and the direction forward is key. Skills required as well, different kind of skills required, from management to implementation, psychological sometimes, technical, communication, digital skills. But also, it's quite crucial to think about delivery right from the beginning of the process. So as well, who is going to fund the follow-up after the engagement? So we need to have as well early delivery and action to achieve quick wins is key to indicate that change is really actually happening, and which build confidence and trust in the process. And also the last one, how do we monitor what works and what hasn't worked, and what can we learn from it? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your passionate contribution and presentation. That was great. Yes, the changes in the community and the society, it was very interesting Hvala lepa. And now we shall hear the next contribution, naslednji prispevek, which will be delivered by, I hope so, Rosina Spinoy. Be welcome among us, designer, strategist, social entrepreneur, director of BITS Belgium. Prosim, izvolite.
Thank you, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I will also try and be incredibly quick and run through it. It's complementary to Hassam's presentation because we have the same theme together. So, of course, you've heard all about co-design and what it is, and I want to share with you today what it meant to me in some of the projects on the ground, what worked, what didn't work. Of course, when we talk about co-design, we know that it's working together and it's got to be an equal stance. It's, as Hassam also mentioned, it's the top-down, meeting the bottom up and working together. So again, I think yesterday I had briefly mentioned to you that, it wasn't so brief, but I'll try and be brief today, I'll be focusing on two projects in Brussels. One, which was in my home municipality in the northwest side, which was about the urban street design project, which was very participatory, but it was led top down in a way. So, of course, just to talk about why, of course, the co-design is important. It's also about us having different perspectives, having different stakeholders at the table. You know, taking now, of course, as we have to, this human-centric and planet-centric perspective. We have to be democratic. Everyone's voice has to be heard. And I think when it comes to place, this is really important. We want to be working together on place and representing the people that we're making the place for. And it's joint ownership, it's a sense of belonging. Also, I think briefly yesterday I'd mentioned, and be careful, don't blink in case you miss these slides because I've got a lot of them that I'm going to whiz through. It was also this feminizing street name strategy for the street, which we collectively decided would be named after the Bronte sisters. And so we worked together to, as I say, take the cars out of the street to create this space with the children, with the schools, with the elderly, with the diverse community. But of course, when we talk about who was involved, you know, it was about working with the stakeholders, and the stakeholders were actually local government. So we were partnering with local government, but local government were leading it. So it had a very top-down feel, actually, and they were linking with other authorities of culture, education, also some of the policy makers, the sports people that were running the sports centres. But these were government authorities, and then people like myself who were running civic society organisations, we were also part of this process. We also heard briefly about the tools in the previous project, in the previous talk by Hassam there. You know, it was meetings, workshops, we had task force groups, and some of the local ambassadors and plenty of meetings. We also did the visual mapping, the process. You can read it here, what we did. And the end result, of course, was a fantastic space, which is a test zone. It's a test bed because we were testing the space. This will be permanent in about 2 years' time, and we will take the best out of what worked and what didn't work. And as we see, it's already over summer, we've had lots of different activities in this space, and it's about linking the park, the biodiversity, creating an open, safe space for everyone to use. This was some of the community that were physically building the space as well. But what were my learnings out of this? In terms of governance, we have to be also thinking about that creative process. We want to, you know, think about who are those creative bureaucrats, as Charles Landry calls it with his creative bureaucracy. Who are the ones that understand this process? Because there can be a knowledge gap, of course. Not everyone understands co-design and design. So we need to really think also, we need to know our community. Now, our municipality actually, I can truly say that not everybody was represented in that co-design process when it was led just top down. We have to know who are the demographics. Do they all have a voice? Were they all part of that process? The blind spots were the inclusion. I think we should have had more inclusion in that process. It was a bit of the usual actors. And again, as I mentioned, it was mainly authorities. There was few civic society representation. It was more top down. We needed a bit more of the personal aspect. We needed a bit more of the storytelling. Now I'm going to jump very quickly to the second one, where this was an initiative with women, diverse women of Brussels region that I collaborate with. And we wanted to do a photographic exhibition in public space, showing active women during COVID period, leaders, change makers in their community. And as Brussels is a very diverse city, we've got 180 nationalities in Brussels, so we wanted to try and see what can we do as a co-design process. So we wanted to really bring all these women together and also really think about how do we select the 100 women. So that was the process. And we were doing this exhibition very central in front of the Brussels Stock Exchange, an exhibition space supported by Brussels Region and Equal Brussels. But also what was really important is our steering group actually reflected the diversity of Brussels. McKinsey's done reports and plenty of studies on if you bring diversity at the table, you'll get a better outcome. Then you feel that their voices are heard. This was very important for us. Diversity matters. Also, we had a shared vision, a common goal that was important. We were aligned already. This made the process easier. We also looked at data. What was the data of the people we were actively seeking out to bring in? Were the representatives from the 19 municipalities? Were the representatives from the diversity that is in Brussels? We used lots of different kinds of data. It was very important. We used data, and more data. So we even went really deep into what's the ethnicity, what's the race, what's the socioeconomic status, what's their also what's their position. We had women from homeless women to women working at European level and global level. We actively sought out women that represented different parts of society, women that were limited mobility, that were disabled. We're not saying we covered every single thing because I think inclusion is a challenging word in itself. We try to create a sense of togetherness. And we created a very impactful exhibition for 2 months in front of the Stock Exchange, which was quite an incredible experience for these women. We also wanted to amplify our voice. We had our posters, adverts on bus shelters around the city. We had press. We made sure we did good management, good design management, and the process was really important, looking at the PR, getting Brussels Times on board, getting all of the different press in Brussels. We managed to really bring a lot of women together. We also previously had overtaken this space that women had never been in or weren't allowed in over 100 years ago. So it was incredible to do this social project of bringing these women together. Very quickly, considerations. What's the maturity of the organizations? What was the expertise of the stakeholders? What have you got to bring to the table? The storytelling, the narrative, it was important. We didn't just have the photographs of the women, we had their story. What were they leading during COVID period? Women that were leading universities to leading organizations to women that were struggling and lost their home. So really that was important. We had a sense of trust and transparency between the group, which filtered down to the whole project. We also did the pre-evaluations and the post-evaluations. In fact, later this month, I'm very proud to say, no, in fact, later in November, we'll be doing a big presentation on the project in Brussels Parliament. So that impact of the important design process, that empathy, that real kind of process management that was important, and the respect, it was very important as well. So just a couple of more considerations about the radical inclusion, looking at participatory, anticipatory governance, looking at the different scenarios beforehand, analysing what are the potential scenarios of this project, taking that interdisciplinary approach. Of course, it's a huge benefit when you co-design together with others. You really can, as I say, when you have the different skills around the table, you can really guarantee that good outcome. Thank you very much.
Hvala lepa. Thank you so much. And thank you for bringing out the concept of diversity. That was very interesting, very important. And the concept of storytelling, the narrative. Great. Hvala lepa. And now, drage kolegice in kolegi, the next contribution delivered by Dr. Hina Ali, PhD, Service Design and Innovation, London College of Communication. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I'd like to present, I had a different presentation, but yesterday I put something together very quickly because I had the pleasure of meeting the Erasmus students. And for me, the Erasmus students represented the whole Europe because there were students from Portugal, from Spain, from different parts of Europe, and it was a pleasure to work with them. So I'm going to present. Yesterday, we talked a little about collaboration. We talked a little bit about these really big projects, which are making a huge difference in the world. And today I would like to talk a little bit about, especially you, the students, us as educationists and designers and activists, what is our role in creating these opportunities of change? So let's start with design sprints. At University of the Arts London, we've started using this method to very quickly with students, with staff members, with policymakers to develop visions of change, to develop concepts of change, to develop ideas of change. And yesterday, I had the pleasure of doing this with some of the students I can see here as well, of developing visions, of understanding the space around us, the space we occupy, and looking at how we can bring change, to understand problems, to brainstorm together collaboratively, to understand our own power as designers, to build consensus, working in teams, and prototypes. Sorry, we didn't have time to do that, but maybe next time. So looking at the idea of the big macro ideas around policy making, change, developments, and then micro, what we as individuals bring to this space and to change our amazing world. We followed the double diamond design method, but then the students were on fire. So I just let them do what they wanted to, bring their creativity in. I asked the students to go around, walk around the space, identified issues in that space in relation to sustainability, and also identify positive actions in the space they occupied around campus. They didn't need me to tell them anything else. They just kind of went out, amazing design students. And then they brought back all these images captured on their phones of issues they noticed outside around in the space that they walked about in. We discussed these issues and we talked about how can we actually think about these issues in terms of their specific skills. They were divided in teams of 5 from different disciplines, from different countries. I think the best representation of diversity and working together for the world. And then we came up with these 3 amazing studios, the Green Studio, the Blank Space Studio, and the Peninsula Iberica. I think I say it right now. Thank you. The whole idea was for the students to be sensitized to what we can do as designers. This was just a 3-hour sprint. And then also kind of to understand that sometimes we think about in the future, but sometimes we need to take action now and here. What we can do now in the present will impact our future. What happened in the past impacts now. So we started thinking about the future. We started creating these personas. And then I asked the students to actually act out these personas, to kind of do role play, to communicate their ideas through theatrical performance, which some of them were really scared about doing, but they were very brave. And they just kind of, dived right into it. We work with music. We work with music, looking at the idea of fun and game theory and how we can make a creative space. How can we create the space where the students, as designers, as creatives, have an open mind about anything and everything. They're not restricted by constraints at this particular point in time. They discover their own creative processes. We started looking at how we can we look at these big problems, but then we need to simplify them into small actions to bring change. And I think what I really liked about the students was their feedback. So at the end of the session, I asked the students, I gave them pieces of paper. I asked them to think about their experience in 3 hours. And I asked them to reflect on their experience, on what they are doing and how it helps them change the world. What is their power? What do they bring to the space? And most importantly, how do they work together? How did they deal with conflict? What if there are 5 different opinions? How do we take one opinion forward? And I must say, they're rock stars. We had a great time. We started thinking about quick problems and then quick solutions at that particular point in time, thinking about sustainability. So we talked about what is comfort, what is the environment, what is their learning from this particular exercise that they were doing, and how can they kind of think about this in future during the projects that they will be doing on the courses here. When they go back home to their own countries, how can they talk to other people, bring people together for these quick design sprints, and together they, kind of work, create this activist design force to change the world. We also talked about students, how do they feel working in groups, and also how did they feel about talking about problems and coming up with solutions, and so many solutions, but then deciding on one. So it's about working together, collaborative working, but also giving respect to each other's opinion, bringing all these different opinions together, but then understanding the context of design and what can work best for the problem they're working on. If you look at the feedback sheets, there are no names on the feedback sheets. So I specifically asked the students to give feedback, but don't put their name on there, because I wanted them to have this safe space to tell me all the negative aspects within that space as well, so that we as educationists understand that what to do next. So this kind of became a co-creation space. Students responded well to the idea of fun and activity, but I love this idea about making difficult thoughts fun to discuss, creating this safe space, introspection, reflection, consciousness of the space. These are videos. I will share these with Nada, and then maybe the faculty and the students can look at these videos. But I had some students were shy about coming up and talking and role playing. And I must commend the other students who clapped them in. When they came in and stood, they were clapping even before they started to encourage their peers. And I have to identify that nobody knew anyone before they came to this specific workshop. Sorry, this is my favorite slide. Somebody put in that if I can do something in such a small time, I can do something amazing in a longer time. And I love this quote, I guess pressure makes diamonds, and you guys are my diamonds from yesterday. It's not about me that they enjoyed the workshop, but it was about me as an educator, opening up this space for the students to come, to innovate, think, to reflect, to work together, to bring their different perspectives from around Europe, and then reach an idea, to reach a solution that's going to make a change. I learned to enjoy teamwork, together, creating together, learned about benefits of working together, brainstorming. I will use this in all my designing future and try to enjoy and embrace team working. I won't see it as something annoying. So just to end it all, I think I've taken 3 minutes, Nada. I need commendation for that. So just to end it, I think the short design sprints can be very interesting in an educational space. We work with the government using short design sprints because the government people are very busy. We work with organizations such as banks, Deloitte, EY Seren, and we use these They can be a day long, they can be a week long, they can be in 3 hours. You can change the world because they help understand a problem, they help brainstorm, identify potential solutions, build consensus on clear next steps, create prototypes to test solutions with real users if you have a longer design stream. And also, our students felt more empowered, more literate about the issues, and also more conscious of what's happening around them, the world they occupy. Some were not interested in the specific field, but they thought that whatever their future ambitions is, they will be able to take this forward and work on it. So I think I'm going to end it with one sentence, that it is our duty as educationists, as activists, as designers, to create opportunities of collaboration and empower our students as our future, who are not able to only identify issues, but can also develop solutions based on their design fields and collaborating with other disciplines. Thank you very much. Can I ask the students from yesterday to stand up, please? Yes. Thank you.
Hvala lepa. Thank you. Wow, you're a very nice person. Firstly, thank you. And thank you for giving our students the sense and the mind that they believe that they have power of designers. Hvala lepa. And now our last contribution in the first part of expert contributions, which will be delivered by Assistant Professor Dr. Peter Lipar, Head of Chair of the Faculty of Civil and Geodetic Engineering. Bodite dobrodošli. Beseda je vaša, izvolite.
Hvala lepa, lep pozdrav vsem. Kakor vidite, odzunaj je sonce, tako da moramo hitro nehati. Sun is shining outside already. Well, I'm a civil engineer. That could be a part of the problem, but it could be a part of the solution also. I loved your presentation, Hussam, and I will continue where you stopped. As a civil engineer, I have a slightly different view on urban planning and urban design, slightly different view. But anyhow, I think it's nothing wrong with it because it should be multidisciplinary work, just like we already heard today many times. Road design, especially urban road design, should be multidisciplinary work, involving all stakeholders. Also, we have another player here, citizens. I will present you today one example of do it yourself street. I think it's originated in England, this philosophy, do it yourself street. It's one firm called Sustrans, maybe you know it, Hussam. They began with it, and also we have a solution from their vision here. You quoted Jane Jacobs. I have another quote of her because it's important for my future explanations here today. Jane, in her famous book, The Death and Life of Great American Cities, wrote, "The purpose of roads and streets is not only to get from place A to place B, but also have many other functions. The importance of streets is not only in their mobility utility, I'm a civil engineer, mobility, yes, but also in the social character." So this is a starting point for me, social character of streets. First, some theory. Co-design, we must know, it's not an event. Co-design is a process, absolutely. Principles of co-design: inclusive, we also heard that today, respectful, participative, iterative, and outcomes must be focused if we want to have success. The process we are following in do-it-yourself streets is slightly different, but much the same. First, analysis. What's the neighborhood like today? I have this specific thing in Ljubljana. It's called Vodnikova Street, if somebody of you may know where it is, in Šiška. What's the neighborhood like today? It's not so, it's already changed, but I'm showing you the pictures before the reconstruction. It's not like a beautiful street, not good for pedestrians. pedestrians, not good for cyclists. You see from these two pictures. We don't like it. Okay. Vision. What change would you like to see? Citizens involved. What do we want? More greenery, reducing traffic, improve the sense of community, and reducing the speed altogether. We want that. The citizens introduced one, I think it's Facebook site. It was called, it's another thing. We are performing Jane's Walk every year in Ljubljana, many of them, where we are just walking around and seeing some beautiful things. And during the walk, we highlight, especially in this Vodnikova Street, there were highlighted the urban and other qualities, characteristics, and specificities of Vodnikova Road, and they tried to formulate proposals for urban planning and traffic problems of the current arrangement. They already proposed that in the Facebook site. So, number 3, plan. Where should we focus our attention? On people, places, on widening pavements, okay, civil engineering, on crossing points, civil engineering, on connecting streets and gateways into the streets. The main points should be focused here. After that, we had preliminary design. So some design made by experts, of course, city planners and also traffic engineers. Some preliminary design. And this preliminary design went out on the street to be refined and defined, and then we proceed to the final decision. You see people discussing this preliminary design outside on the street, adding some suggestions, some solutions, and altogether, again, that must be introduced in the final design. The process on Vodnikova Street have many stages. First, it was introduced many leaflets. Yes, they were very well organized, those citizens here, very well organized. We have some introduction with tactical urbanism, so just to show what's going to happen there in the meantime. You see these tactical urbanism things. Some experts prepared some renders. I'm aware you can do that even better than they did it in your faculty. You are quite an expert in renders, I know that, because I also teach there. Renders what citizens would like to have in the street. And then addressing the interested public just right on the street. You see here the citizens involved in these proposals, in these proposed solutions, agitating, addressing, still getting some another information, and after that, final design. Introducing all these inputs from the field. And the final result is like this. Implementation, before, after. I already showed you this picture at the beginning. Now, the same picture is like this. You see, widening pavements, narrower roads, less space for cars, more space for vulnerable users, for cyclists and pedestrians. Another example, before, and the same picture after. You see, absolutely more space for cyclists. There is still space for cars, of course, because the mobility must be, but much, much more space for vulnerable users. And for the end, a rhetorical question. I think I don't have to answer this. Thank you.
Najlepša hvala. Thank you so much. I live really next to this Vodnikova Street, so I agree with everything from my experience. Zdaj pa, gospe in gospodje, now, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, you're invited to have some break. Maybe some coffee as well. Vidimo se znova in 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. Thank you, Nada. 20 minutes, so. contributions. And firstly, I would like to announce Benjamin Hafner, Hafner Architecti, Faculty of Design, to deliver the presentation of student project Summer Festival Studenet in cooperation with Municipality of Domžale. Do you live in Domžale?
Yes.
Yes, so this is your hometown.
Yes, also.
Great.
I'm living a little bit here and a little bit there.
So we will hear something from really somebody who's from there. Great.
Okay, yeah, because we are cooperating a few years now.
Great. The floor is yours, Benjamin.
Hello to everyone, and thank you very much. So Summer Festival Students. Last year we did with the students of the third class in the interior design, the partial renovation of the theater. So it was a conceptual design, and yes, it was about just not the parts of the theater, not the whole theater. So the authors from the third class are Alja Josupova, Ana Mlinar, Brina Ana Lukic, Iva Berendijaš, Julia Keren, Kristina Stepan, Matic Dobrnikar, Nika Korešmeh, Tjaša Bolčina, Urška Lasnik, Vesna Čase, Vita Čelesnik. So before I start, I would just like to explain a few words about my favorite project that I'm really admiring. It's about the memorial complex Kampor on Island Rab in Croatia. And this is probably also really important project of an architect, Edvard Ravnikar, our also really important architect beside Plečnik. And this was probably one of the first projects that he did. It was around 1953. And what is about? This memorial complex project was done for all the victims in the Second World War. So here was a Jewish camp, and a lot of victims died there. And what is important, you can see on the left side, you can see the picture when it was building. And this is today. I visited this summer, and what is really important by the concept, and what is really important that I always say is what you have first in your mind, your expression, and that you are following this expression. And for example, Edvard Ravnikar say, to bo enkrat gaj. This one day will be a groove. And as we can see, this today really is a groove. And so what I would like to say is that each project that we do, everything what we are dealing with in any kind of way, it is really important what is bringing the project after 10 years. What we can see, so the values of any kind of space, projects, and everywhere can actually be really observing after 10 years, and they can get the real value after 10 years. And I think in that kind of concept, we can say also that the projects are sustainable, are going green global. Here we also have more important things like all the souls that they died in that times have now here their own grave, their own park. And this is what is the most important, that we are thinking what will be in 100 years, 10 years, 15 years, not really now, not really today, but what the project brings with the people with us in the future. So, okay, a few things. Greek theaters, for example, always follow the topography of the terrain, as if they were carved out of the earth that was given to the people's use. So we always think how something that we are building going together in a dialogue with the green. And I think we are all agreed that today when we are going to old town, Asian towns, we still see this connection with people, with green, with build. And this is, I think, still important what we will be doing in the future. Summer Festival Studenets. So this is the existing theater which is placed nearby Domžale in Krtina. It is one of our open theaters. And what I see here, the connection is that Also, this theater is placed by the foothill as an exit of the forest, or next to the settlement as the seam of the interplay between the natural and the built. Above it floats a light canvas roof on a slender iron construction as the primary shelter element that signals what is happening. For example, transparency offers sightseeing and observation of the natural surroundings before and after the show. The natural backdrop, the horizon of the landscape becomes a window of the internal facade of the building. So we have actually some kind of a really beautiful natural landscape, the views that are coming from interior to exterior, and we cannot say where is the border. So what is interior and what is exterior? We can actually say that it's both. Then we can also observe the features like level height differences in sections that brings the use of additional intermediate space as an entrance portal where a program of points, cafes, galleries can be developed. We have really interesting dialogue between existing structure, existing steel construction and trees. And yes, a few concepts that I would like to say about that we were all the time following this, what have we see when we come there. So as we can see, we have this existing stage, stands, existing building that are going more to the north, technical buildings and entrances. So before I explain the advantages, there are even more in the natural outdoor theater. But what are the disadvantages are that we don't have actually the backstage of the theater. So the backstage of the theater is the most important stuff that is actually connecting the theater. And about the wishes of the investor were that he would like to join and to connect more the back to make the backstage more with the connection of the stage, so that we have the really optimum combination of what is happening behind the stage and supporting the stage. So these were a few technical wishes from the client, and what was also the wish from the client is that he wants to make some kind of a wall around the theater, but this wall should be like transparent wall, should be a little bit having about with acoustics, and should also allows us sightseeing through this wall, some kind of a shelter. And these were, so we combined the features that we saw before and a few wishes. So what is also important by the project that I think is important with all projects is that we cannot make some nice construction without having knowledge of the design, but it is also inverted. We cannot make a good design without knowing how to make it in the construction. And I think that any kind of projects is actually combining those three knowledges: design, construction, architecture. So in that kind of way, maybe the project was a little bit different. So in that kind of way, I also played the role as an architect who said to the students, here we will put the buildings. I gave them the measures, and then they did the design of the buildings. And they were following the wishes from the client and the features that we saw before. And for example, the project that I called vertical structure is from Alia Yosupova. She said, the solution proposed is to create additional objects for artists and store props, as well as to unite these objects with a small curved line. And this curved line symbolizes music, or more precisely, the smooth flow of the sound. So this is this addition that we can say that when you put something in the space has another value with the design. For example, Vesna Chas did the program in between trees and in between steel construction. So because of that, I call it in between trees. So in between trees, we put inside all the programs that we need. So all the dressings, all the makeups, and also the interior is like being in the wood. This is also one really interesting concept, following the horizon of the landscape. As I showed you before, we have really these nice views. And also here, we can see that this line of the panels are following the horizon. And actually, Anna Mlinar was adjusting that kind of a wall that is semi-transparent, that allows us that we can rotate the panels, and we can also adjust the acoustics, we can adjust the sightseeings, and we can actually adjust the atmosphere that we are inside. She was also dealing with the movable containers, what is also really, really good, because when you have the program of one performance, you have that number of containers, and on another performance, another one. For example, Nika Korešmeh was starting with the concept of how he was dealing with these levels that she was placing at the beginning, the bar, then the cafeteria that you can stop by. You can stop by and see the gallery. And she was using actually what I was trying to present you before, this level up, level down. And what was also really important is that she was covering all the buildings with the green roof, which is actually the green area for the playground. And actually you don't see any kind of buildings at the theater. She was also playing with the panels that you have like a meaning of the trees and leaves. And wooden fence, for example, Brina Ana Lukic also made a fence around the theater, and this fence is actually allowing us to have some intimacy during the show, and that we can also look through the show, look when you are finishing, when the show finishes. She was actually her concept was to adopt the renovation and design of the new buildings around the already existing trees and the stage construction. So this is just a really quick performance of a few concepts. And for the end, this is also really some sentence that I really like is, it is said that one of the most impressive things about the music of Johann Sebastian Bach is its architecture. Its construction seems so clear and transparent. Peter Zumthor in the book Thinking Architecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, Architect Hafner, you had quite a dialogue with the students. Having a dialogue about the green with the green. Great, thank you. Hvala lepa. And now I would like to ask for her contribution, Assistant Professor Inge Kalan, Interior Design Department, Faculty of Design. Dobar dan želim. Profesorica, in izvolite.
Well, I'm the last, and I hope not the least, among the teachers and speakers. Very warm welcome. Our students from abroad, and I'm going to represent you the students' projects that were done in a workshop API Global. And we've heard before about the Radolica, was really a host for us. Petra, thank you. And I'm going to tell you about the organization in a few sentences, just a few seconds, about the JIT organization. This is the group of international design education. Different faculties from the Europe are organized nearly 12 years, and I'm the coordinator from Slovenian Faculty of Design. And here are together faculty from Belgium, Thomas More University, and then is as well we are working with Politecnico Milano, the Italian faculty, and then there is as well the part is WARS. They were active from Scotland, from Dundee, the faculty, and then there were the Madeira, Portugal faculty from our faculty, from Charles, and Supsi, I told, no, Supsi is from Switzerland. So, and each year, one of the faculties is the host to have the workshop, and it's only 2.5 days, and the students must cooperate and interdisciplinary gather in the groups. Some of the students are just here sitting. behind you, and they can tell you in their own words what this experience was looking like. And I'm just going to show you a few what was done in Radovljica in June, where we were the Slovenian faculty of design was the host, and only in 2 days and a half we did a really great project. And after my few sentences, you will see this film. There were 3 nations, only 3 nations came this year to Slovenia because of the different reasons why the Portugal faculty cannot come, I don't know, the Scottish as well. But there were Politecnico Milano, Thomas More, and of course our faculty. The inspiration was, of course, bees and the respecting ability of ecosystems, saving the balance, including the honeybees. And in the connection with my colleague Petra, she as well represented how important the bees are. Main creative tasks and inspirations were how can we design our living environment today by respecting the ability of ecosystem, saving the balance, including the honeybees. How can we find solutions for urban environment not to dominate or destroy the nature with emphasis of honeybees? So design disciplines can also offer broader and sustainable approaches to long-term world formation. There were 4 teams in 3 days, 2 days and a half. They did their really perfect, you will see their work. And one was episocial design mobile stands, key points, sustainable urban forms. The second was API active, design interactive educational elements, key points. API welcome, everything was installed, of course, in a small town, Radovljica, and API corner designed modular unit for API therapy and wellness in Radovljica. So thank you to all my students, especially for Brina Lukic. She was as well mentioned here. These were 4 contexts, as you can see. And now I will just present you the film of their work. On the location.
Can you imagine that the smallest animal as a bee can change a human's behavior, or even provide the existence of humankind? People of Radovljica have been co-living with the bees for centuries. They fell in love with their tsivka, the carniola bee. For the JID Project 2022 we implemented an installation to the Castle Park, in the heart of Radovljica. The locals told us the story of old village gatherings around the main big tree, where stories were shared and passed to the next generations. The castle park is the main meeting point for Radovljica's well-known festivals. That's why we wanted to keep the installation in a shade of trees. We created this project to reflect the beautiful surroundings and incorporated local materials. The installation invites people to participate and get in touch with the environment. It improves togetherness in the village by opening up to the local businesses. We are passing the message of bees through interaction and by appealing to all senses. Inspired by the bee dance, the installation dances between trees and leaves the memorable experience. Be happy. Stories shared.
Presented the project's concepts, idea concepts. Oh yeah, sorry. I represented the idea concepts that were done with these students from different faculties, and I am very glad that I can invite you next year, especially our students will be the host country Belgium, Thomas More University, and we will have this in March, this workshop. We don't know the topic yet, we don't know the theme, but every year is different, and afterwards this theme is as well. We are doing the projects with the same team in our pedagogical process at each faculty. And then afterwards, there is the exhibition about of the results of the students' works in each country. So thank you very much. Hvala lepo sem.
Najlepša hvala. Odslej bo imela tale želja be happy nekoliko drugačen pomen, now another significance, be happy, srečna čebelica. Nekajkrat smo slišali tudi Čmrljev let, rimski Korsakov je bil skladatelj, to se je odlično slišalo. Slišali smo tudi na nek način tišino in vohali tisto, kar bomo, ko bomo prišli v Radovljico. Hvala lepa še enkrat. And now our next contribution, I think we are going online now. We are going to We are going to Funchal, Madeira. Bom dia, como está,
Bom dia.
professora?
Tudo bem, obrigada.
Tudo bem, aqui também em Ljubljana. O tempo, como é que está o tempo lá?
Cloudy, bit rainy. Rain has arrived. Yes.
But here it is sunny, muito sol.
I don't know what's going on.
We are just having a great time and a great weather. Então, a professora Valentina Vezani, University of Madeira, Portugal, Funchal, a palavra é sua, por favor, próximo izvolite.
Obrigada, and thank you again for this invitation, and I'm really honored to be here with you today. And today I'm gonna go and share with you the experience that we are building at the design, art and design department of the University of Madeira through the Erasmus Plus funded project DC4DM, Digital Creativity for Developing Digital Maturity Future Skills. Actually, I would like to start by inviting you all to travel forward in time, 10 years or a little bit more. And I would like to imagine that we human beings, we will be able to interact with other species. This being connected and integrated with our surroundings will be crucial for the well-being of the natural ecosystems and communities. And imagine a future where the land and the numerous species that cohabitate in the same ecosystem can have a say before any decision by a human being, that can be a farmer or a policymaker, takes place. So this is one of the four future scenarios identified by a multidisciplinary team of master students. And in particular, the most exciting concept that they came up with in only 10 days of workshop was the one of biosensors. These biosensors are able to store and transfer data from the natural environment, in particular from plant species, so that they can inform human decisions. So imagine an internet of trees, a natural intelligence, and this can be a little bit science fiction, yes, but all this is inspired by real mechanisms of communication that happen among plant parts, that happen among mycelium, fungi. So if this living tech system exists for real, they would allow us to improve and manage sustainably agricultural activities, and before so, nature conservation actions then. So this idea of biosensors, of smart forest communities, it's quite exciting, quite strange. We could be here even having a conversation on the plant ethical perspective on this idea. But I share with you this concept because it's really fascinating to see how a multidisciplinary team can work through their digital creativity and try to solve complex problems with regenerative and distributive design responses. So this biosensors project actually came out in last July 2022 through a 10 days design workshop that happened at the University of Madeira. And this workshop was about food. In particular, this workshop wanted to challenge the participants with 3 key questions. Can we change the way we produce, consume, distribute food on the island of Madeira? Can we use the island as a testbed for sustainable food system? And can design technology, digital technology, be enablers to rethink local food system? We wanted the students to design a system that could be distributive and regenerative toward both human and non-human communities. And being food the main theme, we invited them to consider the complexity of the whole chain and to embrace the challenge from multiple perspectives. So what happened? We gathered a huge group of students from Italy, France, and Portugal, coming from different study courses of engineering, design, and even organic farming. And these students were organized in 6 teams, and each team was collaborating with local startups Startups that were selected because they wish to speculate on the evolution of their business toward digital maturity. The 6 themes were associated to one of the 4 macro themes that you can read here: agrobiodiversity, pollinators, waste, and forest and water. And these macro themes were basically a sort of guideline for the teams to go through their design process and, first of all, their research phase. The 10 days program included many theoretical contributions by local stakeholders like scientists, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and they provided to the students with localized information, but most of all, they allow them to understand the variety and complexity of voices and points of view that to take into consideration along the design process. To design for sustainability is to understand nature. Then we have brought the students to walk in the forest, to learn about nature, to stay in contact with nature. And these walks were led by local biologists. They allowed the students to get new insights regarding the complexity of interrelations that exist between different organisms and their habitat. And listening to natural scientists allowed the students to develop a personal sensitivity toward the natural environment and understand better the implication of unsustainable action. Being a multicultural and multidisciplinary group of learners working intensively for 10 days required us to build an environment that could inspire collaboration, so that everyone could feel part of a collective learning experience, teachers and educators included. So this Learning Lab Feeding Madeira, in Madeira, July 2022, is part of our global education objective to provide people with a set of technical, cognitive, metacognitive, socio-emotional competencies that would allow us to face the challenges of digital life. Today, we witness a constant digital transformation. This means that education must align with the speed of technology evolution and its implication in society, politics, economy, and environment. By evolving the educational models, then we should be able to prepare future generations to respond to constant transformations and support businesses and organizations in reaching their digital maturity. So the DC4DM project tries to respond to this challenge. It is an Erasmus Plus funded project and involves 2 design and 2 engineering higher education partners and 1 business incubator. It aims to implement an educational model, a human-centered one, to develop and empower digital creativity abilities. So the DC4DM model aims training learners to become future digital maturity enablers, professional figures who would guide with their abilities, business and organization through digital maturity. This that you see now on this slide is actually the model, the educational model that we are testing right now. And it is based on 3 main phases: the pre-process, the during process, and the post-process. And I would like to focus your attention on the first part that regards the education, the training of the digital creativity abilities. In particular, the focus is on these 6 drivers: tech foresight, ethics, sustainability, sense-giving, complexity, and collaboration. So during the first workshop, the Learning Lab 1, the students used the model and its tools and methods for 10 days they could find on Miro board, as a Miro board. The model will be tested again. It will be tested in Saint-Étienne, actually right now is happening, and will be tested in Milan between January and February, and is a work in progress. But the idea is that this educational model will be open, will be available to any educator, any trainer, any learner that wish to learn more about digital creativity and digital maturity. So what you see now is the EduBox, that will be this digital container with different kind of learning tools and methods that anyone could use and implement in their own contest, learning contest. So to conclude, in a complex world in constant transformation that still favors individualism and consumism, there is a great need in educating people in understanding two things from my point of view. That technology alone cannot be the solution. We first need, as human beings, to learn to collaborate between different disciplines and knowledge fields. And before that, we need to learn to listen to each other. Technology is a means of to get to a solution that must be thought carefully, also by considering ethical and sustainable impacts. And finally, we must remind ourselves that as human beings, we are part of nature and we have no control. So we must learn to cohabitate with other species, recognize their important role in the ecosystems, and learn to take care of them as we do about ourselves. And thank you very much.
Hvala lepa. Thank you so much. E saudações para Madeira.
Thank you. Obrigada.
Bye bye. Thank you. Gospe in gospodje, drage kolegice in kolegi, zdaj pa je čas za nagrade. Going Green Global Awards is ahead of us, and I would like to ask our dean to come to the stage. In sicer bo dekanja prišla na oder, hkrati z arhitektom, ki ga zelo lepo pozdravljam, gospodom Robertom Klunom, lanskoletnim nagrajencem. Oba vabim na oder, gospa dekanja in Robert Klun, prosim, izvolite in velik aplavz. Malce zmede mora biti zmeraj. Prosim, izvolite, lepo pozdravljeni. Hvala lepa. Zakaj potrebujem mikrofon? Morda za vaju dva, ki boste zdaj v glavnih vlogah, prosim. V glavnih vlogah pa bodo tudi nagrajenci, prav gotovo. Pa lahko kar začnemo, kaj ne, Nada in Robert. Lahko. Prav. Going Green Global Awards for successful cooperation of the economy with educational research and artistic institution, Faculty of Design, for the project system solution of modular furniture 2 v 1 goes to Adria Mobil d.o.o. in na oder vabim gospoda Klemna Kolenca, direktorja, in mentorico gospod Katjo Turk in mentorja gospoda Vida Štiglica.
Vsi na projektu vabljeni.
Prosim, kar izvolite.
Gospod direktor. Vsi,
vabim vas na oder, dobili boste nagrado in se še fotografirali. Ta nagrada gre tudi fakulteti in že sta tukaj, malce še ostanite. Zdaj je vse splošna zmeda nastala, ampak nič hudega. Me veseli, profesorici Mojca in Jasna sta prav tako prišli v imenu Fakultete za dizajn. Potem pa naj povabim gor, kajti to je v sklopu te prve nagrade, tudi Podgorje d.o.o., gospod Denis Stepančič, direktor. Vi ste pa, me veseli, da so. In potem pa še poglejmo, če je z nami mentor, gospod Darko Šurina, pozdravljeni. In razvojni tehnolog, gospod Andrej Junkar, tega pa ni, ampak nič hudega. Zdaj vam želim eno lepo fotografiranje. Najlepša hvala in čestitke in verjamem, da je bilo lepo sodelovati. In uspešno. Hvala lepa. Going Green Global Design Award for the permanent, holistically designed exhibition Living Together goes to Beekeeping Museum in Radovljica with the author and project manager, Dr. Petra Bole. Ja, be happy, be happy. Hvala lepa in še enkrat iskrene čestitke. Going Green Global Award for 20 years of innovative creative work goes to Zavod BIK. Živa Novak in Zmago Novak. Prosim, izvolite. Hvala lepa in še enkrat čestitke. Mi pa lahko nadaljujemo, kajti naslednja nagrada Going Green Global Award for lifetime achievements in the field of the wood processing and bridge between universities and industry companies goes to Borut Kričej, expert advisor, wood science and technology. In velik aplavz, čeprav gospoda danes ni z nami. Ni ga, ampak gospa dekanja, arhitekt, poskrbeli bomo, da ta nagrada pride v prave roke brez skrbi. In vse čestitke, seveda. In pozdrave pošiljamo tja, kamor pač morajo priti. Zdravje pa zmeraj. Hvala lepa. Going Green Global Award for the World Awarded Architecture Master Prize, IDA, International Design Award and International Live Hospitality Design Award for Conception, Green Solutions for Lobby of Domžale Primary School, Park Univerzale, Summer Theatre Studenec and Domžale Youth Center goes to Municipality of Domžale Mayor Toni Dragar, together with students and mentors, architect Benjamin Hafner, and Renata Kosec. Please be welcome to the stage. Hvala lepa. Še enkrat prisrčne čestitke tudi za prej odlično predstavitev, tako smo slišali. Going Green Global Award goes to, but first I have to say, for one of the top 20 most promoting eco-friendly clothing brands in the world goes to brand Benedetti Life of Associate Professor Matteo Benedetti. Čestitke, odlično, trajnost je pomembna, tako pravi dekanja, jaz pa prišepetujem vam naprej. And Going Green Global Awards for uniting top creators from various fields of creative industries with numerous national and international awards and many prize winners of international exhibitions and competitions from United States, Japan, Europe, and Arabic states goes to DOS, Designers Society of Slovenia, and to the president, Juri Dobrila.
Posebna čast mi je danes tole nagrado predati vsem nagrajencem, ampak Društvo oblikovalcev Slovenije, ki se leta in leta trudi, da bi se oblikovanje oziroma dizajn plasiral tja, kamor sodi, je velika zahvala gre vsem članom Društva oblikovalcev Slovenije, vsem prejšnjim predsednikom, zdajšnjem, ki se bori za nas, za vas, prekrasno, res nimam besed. Njegova soproga danes praznuje rojstni dan, vabim jo na oder, ker podpira svojega moža in oblikovanje vrsto let. Gospa, izvolite.
And now the birthday girl. Hvala lepa. Čestitke za vse, tudi za rojstni dan. In še ena nagrada je pred nami v tem veselem vzdušju. Bom rekla takole, Going Green Global Award for the International and Interdisciplinary Students and Mentors Project and exhibition in the Beekeeping Museum in Radovljica. Learning from Nature goes to International Group of Design Education JIT, Assistant Professor Inge Kalan-Lipar, Assistant Professor Barbara Dovečar. Barbara in Inge, izvolite. Hvala lepa. Mislim, da smo svojo nalogo opravili. Čestitke tudi vama. Bila ste odlična. Hvala lepa. Hvala lepa. Dear colleagues, we are not concluding yet. There's something really interesting ahead of us. We are about to begin with our design talk. So, new European Bauhaus design talk on the topic knowledge and tools for creative industries and their role to recreate the power of original Bauhaus proved to have. I shall present the host. We are really honored. We are happy. We are happy that Steiner Valade Amland 3.0 from Denmark is with us again. We welcome in Slovenia again on our stage. You're the host of the talk. And if you agree, I shall present the panelists. May I? Okay, great. So first about the host, Steiner Valade Amland is economist focusing on management and marketing, and he's the host of our talk. And the participants that I shall present, the participants in the round table are, it is really, well, I'm happy to have again Lynn Elvis, design management professional and sustainable design advocate, founder of Design Rally UK. Be welcome here in Ljubljana on our stage. The next panelist, wonderful presentation, Dr. Hena Ali from London, London College of Communication. Be welcome, University of the Arts. We heard also a very interesting presentation of our next panelist, Assistant Professor, Dr. Peter Lipar. The next panelist I should present is Rosina Spinoi. Be welcome again. Professor Dr. Hussam Alwer. I am pronouncing badly your name, I guess. Very badly. Yes, yes, he says, yeah, okay. So, and I think that we are moving to online communication again, because, yes, I guess so. No, it's not. Okay, then this is a bad piece of information. Well, I wish you a nice talk and have a good outcomes from your debate. Thank you
So much. Thank you to all of you and to the panel who will be sort of engaged in a small discussion that I've prepared. But I want to start by thanking two people. One, of course, is Nada, who consistently invites people from around Europe to do this and to discuss design and all what design can do. And then I wanted to thank Ursula von Leyen, because Ursula von der Leyen, she is the reason why there is an NEB Day. And just like we heard earlier today, that from Päivi Takokallio, that this is a historical chance and a historical opportunity for design. It is also more than just a framework for projects and talks. It is a mandate that the design industry and designers have never had before. Not many years ago that the European Union for the first time recognized that there was such a thing as a design profession. Only about 12, 13 years ago that design entered the European vocabulary. And today it's on the top of the agenda, at the pivotal or the pinnacle of power in Europe. Design has been pinpointed as one of the ways and keys to solving some of the biggest problems that we have. And I think we should be extremely proud of that and extremely happy that we have got this mandate from the European Commission. At the same time, I also think that we tend to talk a lot about design and not so much about the designer. How can designers actually raise to the occasion and to address all these huge challenges that we're facing? That was the theme for a workshop that I had just a couple of days ago with some of the students here. And out of that workshop came not only a few ideas and thoughts, but something that was substantial enough that we actually made a manifesto out of it. And I will, after we have had this discussion, allow myself to read this manifesto, because in many ways that is a call for action to us as policymakers and design thinkers, to the faculty as design educators, to DOS as design representatives vis-a-vis governments and the international community, to everyone who has influence at what design is heading towards and what designers need of support and knowledge to actually do what Ursula has told us to do, help Europe meet the Green Deal. But before we get to that, I would like your expert opinions on us, the design community as we know it today, have the tools, the knowledge, the influence, the access to actually make a difference the way that we talk about it and have been talking about it for the last many years. I think we just start with you, Hossam, and then we take a short round around the panel.
I think what is important to me is how to humanize design, how to make it more user-centric, but equally as well, how to use the design as a tool to engage with the community. And I think here to me, it is about the language we use and how we get them involved with it. So humanizing the elements is really very, very key, because when you say I am a designer and I know how to design the system, immediately that could switch off the community in the sense, oh, I am not an expert, or I don't know what they refer to, oh, he or she is better than me. So something about humanizing tools, techniques, technology, system thinking, how to join that dot, I think very key. We need to bring the community as a real partner now, really real partner in the design thinking.
I think it's a great question. I think it's still a little bit it's hard, I think, for some designers, particularly young designers, if they still go into a discipline, you know, to be a product designer or to be a graphic designer, and those disciplines are still being taught. But I think, as we've seen today, we're talking about something that rises above that: processes, facilitation, co-designing, and all of that is coming in on top, which I think is very exciting. But yeah, we do need the abilities, I think, to connect into the practical tools that different disciplines are still teaching and are really, really important, up to these connecting principles and processes that are about how design is applied. So I think we're seeing that with all these amazing, you know, people bringing their tools and things today. But there's still, I think, a little bit of a bridge to be done to connect those tools into design teaching.
I think from my perspective, again, I'm going to talk about the designer here, and I feel that it's about designers at different levels, like student level, learning skills, the knowledge, understanding their disciplines and their power within those disciplines. And then when they're graduating, understanding how to put effective teams together, effective design teams together. And when I say effective design teams, for example, if graphic designer working with a product designer, working with an industrial designer, working with an engineer. So I think it becomes project-centered, objective-centered. So if you have a specific objective, want to change the world, what do you need? So for the designers to have this knowledge, this understanding, I think we need to start from the education level and identify your need, your design need, identify in relation to the objective, what you want to achieve. You should be able to identify. And for this, I think there's a method as well that we can, as educators, start practicing, which we do at University of the Arts London quite a lot. We get designers, different disciplines to work together on one design brief. And then we ask them to bring their own disciplinary design solutions in one space to create a holistic, strategic design project.
Thank you. Well, I warned you, I'm a civil engineer. As a civil engineer and as a road designer, we must comply to certain rules, you know. We don't have much freedom. So there are rules for designing road for 100 kilometers per hour or for 130 kilometers per hour, many rules. We must comply to all of them. But now with introducing this co-design, as I explained to you today, we get more freedom. And I must admit that with that, we get much better solutions than before. So this interdisciplinary work brings much, much better solutions than as my friend from New Urbanism says, after decades of mistakes, we now have new solutions. We have better solutions for vulnerable users.
Well, I guess I see a little bit of another side. I see that there are no boundaries. I'd studied interior design and architecture and I moved into lots of different fields. And I feel that there, in terms of design education, I think what the faculty has done here with the Faculty of Design is incredible, that we're collaborating here with businesses, with local community, with the international community, cross disciplines. That's the way forward. And then the other side is, I see that mainstream education needs to have design within the curriculum as well. I think that there should be in some way design and creativity. We need more of that, because that's the one thing that really goes away and is always cut when it comes to mainstream education, and we need more of that creative thinking. And I think what the key is really the collaboration, is getting students and designers to collaborate with other sectors, with private sector, public sector, to really see, and through experience and other case studies, what's possible through your creativity. You can really work and create those, help solve those challenges. Very briefly, we also seen it during, for example, the big outcry of Black Lives Matter. UNESCO approached designers to communicate through visual illustrations, and there was a call out to creatives to help for that matter. And so I think for social issues regarding everything we hear about regarding the NEB and inclusive sustainable communities, we need the creativity. And I think thanks to the NEB, design's becoming a bit more out there, not quite mainstream yet, but out there.
Thank you. And there was one very important clue that came in the introductory comments from Nada, and that was, we're all leaders. And I think leadership is extremely important in this. Who takes the lead of design and what role designers are allowed to play? You're talking about design moving into other areas as well. There is no business school in Europe or the world today that hasn't design thinking on the curriculum. Design thinking has become sort of an MBA property. Do we lose out on the privilege of taking leadership in the design community when we share the property or the ownership of design with all these other disciplines? Who has the responsibility of making sure that design is always part of the agenda, together with the engineers and together with the marketeers and together with the politicians? Who takes that responsibility? Who has that? Who has sort of the best point of departure for taking on that leadership, besides every one of us taking leadership of our own careers or our own influence? Anyone? Lynn.
Again, I think this is a great question. And I think this is one of the reflections of the time that we're in, because design needs to be in and at the table, and designers now need to have that ability to have that confidence. But as you say, the sharing at business schools of things like design thinking, I think it is good. It brings some of that mentality. But again, I think we still need to therefore anchor down, what does a designer bring when they walk in the room? And then either, as you say, we do all need to be leaders, but there's also this facilitation, this openness of collaborating. So again, it's this, not a top-down leadership, but a sort of uniting leadership that brings people into that facilitatory process that designers are very good at.
Well, by my opinion, the investors has a big role in this, especially the municipality of Ljubljana. We are now in their building today. When they make projects in Ljubljana, they already describe in their project task, which is a guidance for the designers. They already describe what do they want in their project, and if they introduce, and they always do, if they introduce the need of design, then there is design. So a lot, I think, a big stress on investors and on their knowledge to somehow guide the designers and let them freedom in that field.
I think this is very controversial issues and very controversial questions, even from the UK perspective. This is why at the moment, CABE, you know CABE, or Design Council in the UK, Design Council, they try now to bring, everyone has got a design hat, whether artists, whether architects, planner, or engineer, under one umbrella. But as my colleague said, this is to me not about individual person. Whoever will lead, a good leader, the one who will be able to empower others, listens to others, and facilitate. I don't think this is about one stewardship or one ownership. Although I could tell you, there is an issue now on who owns design. I think that's, to me, a big challenge in UK and in Europe.
Rosina, you had a question, comments?
Yep. I would say, indeed, it's about the creative leadership, but I still think as designers, we need to not be, how can I say, preaching to our own community. We need to get out there and lobby in other disciplines, and we need to go there. And also, I think that ability to empathize and changing the narrative. For example, if I was approaching my local mayor, I wouldn't talk about design thinking or design strategy. I would talk about how can we create an inclusive, sustainable community using, with a little bit of socioeconomic regeneration. So I would change the narrative. And I think as creatives, we have that ability to wear different hats and empathize and to go in that, to walk in someone else's shoe and think, okay, how can I get the message of design across? But maybe sometimes it's not using that narrative. So in my own experience, it's been jumping into the different sectors. I felt that it's been a bit of that lobbying. And once people understand that, okay, there's somebody that can maybe facilitate and have that empathy and have a little bit of creative leadership, great. Who do we need around the table? Bring those diverse stakeholders around the table. So I think that facilitation is definitely really important. So I think we can certainly do that, but I agree also just quickly that we don't have one person or voice who's the face of that as such.
I think what I feel personally is that designers should work with non-designers, one. Number two is the double diamond model that the Design Council put together. The design thinking model is not linear. So we communicate it in a linear way for the purpose of communication, but we're completely reiterating, we're moving between different stages of design within the double diamond model. And what that brings to the space is, number one, I'm very mindful of when I'm working on social innovation projects, I never use the term solution. We're bringing a design solution. No, we're creating impact. Impact can be small, impact can be big, it can be one person, it can be thousands of people, but we need to understand as designers what value we bring to the space, especially when you're talking to non-designers. I work a lot with policymakers, with the government, and the language changes because we need to identify as designers, as creatives, how we can benefit the policymaking space, for example, how we can benefit the engineering space, maybe. So that's where the co-design, the collaboration, and different fields working together to come in. It cannot be about power because, again, that's what the problem is anyway.
You said, Susan, that it was a provocative or a sort of controversial issue. I think another controversial issue is if you read the new European Bauhaus sort of vision is to make a more sustainable, more inclusive, and more beautiful future. This last part, the beauty, the aesthetics, the craft, the giving form and shape and sensibility or sensuality to objects and experiences, are we, because we're so focused on facilitation, inclusion, co-creation, processes, are we at risk of losing out on that very specific key competence that designers have of actually giving beauty to the world around us? No.
Can I just say one thing there? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So everyone has a different perception of what that beauty is.
I totally understand what you're saying. I'm just also knowing that I don't know if Robert, if you know it as a furniture maker, but I know that some industries, they have a problem of finding designers who actually know their craft, who know the small, subtle sort of details of how you bring out the beauty in a material, because there's so much focus on all the others that that part of it seems to be forgotten. So there is an issue. I understand what you're saying, but there is also an issue of craftsmanship, which I'm just raising. Is that at stake here?
I'm itching to answer this question. So I feel that no, we are not losing out on aesthetics at all, because I think once we have a design idea or concept, then we concentrate on how to beautify it, to make it aesthetically appealing. The question is why? Why does it have to be aesthetically appealing? For engagement. So aesthetics is connected to engagement. For example, think of a stool, form follows function, Bauhaus, right? So a stool, you sit on a stool, it can be any kind of stool, but there's a specific kind of stool that you would put in an office, a specific kind of a stool you put in your living room, and aesthetics is actually identifying function and how it looks. So I think aesthetics is very closely connected to engagement.
I think using my urbanism and architecture hat, to me, the way I see beauty, outcomes matter most. I totally agree with you. We can get very obsessed with process and so on, but what matter at the end of the day is the users and how the users see beauty in terms of comfortable, being usable, being user friendly, but also that sense of, can I use it? Is it suitable to the community or so? So outcomes to me and the quality of the outcomes, what matter? No matter whether it is a small product or it is a hospital. What is the point having a hospital where the patient, they don't use it or they don't feel comfortable about it? That's to me how I see beauty.
All I can say is thanks God that we have designers. Introducing designers in our teams when making projects for urban places, urban streets, brings new qualities, absolutely. And I already told you that after decades of mistakes, we are having more beautiful roads, streets, and urban places, thanks to designers, because we civil engineers, we don't have that knowledge, but we can see the difference. So we want to collaborate with them, and we are very glad to have them in our teams.
Again, it's a great question. I think, it's something that I often say to teams of designers, particularly design students. So, I'm happy to go into a boardroom or talk to business people about the value of design and to open up that conversation. But if I open that conversation and am able to bring those people towards the idea that actually designers maybe could do more for us than they thought, but yeah, I need some really good designers to come in behind me so that they can follow through on that space that can be created. So yeah, I think there is this need and within the teams, within the collaborated teams, that there are absolutely roles for people whose expertise is in the crafting, and that needs to not get lost if that's where their specialism is. And then again, the designers that are doing the processes and but that's all back to the collaboration. Design is, again, such a rich field. It's got a lot more layers now than maybe it did previously.
Just very quickly, just want to add this, that aesthetics is part of an experience. So, and that experience is what decides that who will engage with a certain design space or product. So again, at the end of the day, it just it's about the experience that you're creating using aesthetics.
Somehow, I guess it's about attractiveness and of appeal, whether it is a hospital experience or it is buying into a change in the local community, or it is making a beautiful object that you will be proud of owning, and so on. So in principle, it's the same, but it's a discussion which I think is important in the context of knowledge and tools for designers to fill this role as a maker of a more sustainable, more inclusive, and more beautiful future. Before I sort of appeal to you all through the words of my students, do you have any sort of nuggets of gold that you want to share with us in terms of this very sort of obviously not so simple issue of what is it that we have to, or what is it that we can expect from designers in terms of playing this vital role in creating a more sustainable future. Always a nugget of gold from Bassam.
One advice, make sure you cross boundaries. Don't feel afraid from crossing boundaries. Crossing boundaries and go beyond your comfort zone. Speak to colleagues, speak to architects, planners, health designers. If you want to learn, really move beyond your comfort zone.
Okay, I think I would call out again to the students. It's some of the discussions today have talked about the future, the timescales. Potentially, most of us have still got a memory and a foot. We've lived some of our lives in the 20th century, but this is the 21st century. This is your century. So, we need you to come up and kind of take what you need from the knowledge that we have, because it is that classic, it's your future more than ours. So, I think that's the other thing that I would call up to. And that's part of the change that needs to happen, and the power shift that needs to happen too.
Yeah, I think I'll just kind of add to this conversation by saying to this young design students specifically, question, be critical, question everything. Don't take things passively. You need to ask these questions. Unless we ask these questions, we cannot identify problems. Like Einstein said, you ask the right question, you get the right answer. So questions are very, very important. And secondly, work in teams, work together. Don't make it about you, make it more about your project that you're working. What are you trying to achieve?
I will just repeat one words from you very well know Mr. Jan Gehl. He said, he was in Ljubljana half a year ago, and he said to young engineers, my students also, he said, it's your obligation not just to make projects. I think it also goes to designers, not just to make projects, but you must try to make invitations for life. That's the whole thing.
I would go back to the core as well. Empathy. Please never lose the empathy. And that is so crucial in amongst, I think you said also, Henna, there about the being critical. And go out of your comfort zone. Go out of your comfort zone as a designer and into other sectors, and never be afraid to experiment, and I think that's what I would say. But empathy is a big one.
Thank you for now. And as I said, I had this workshop on Tuesday with, I think we were 25 students approximately. Visual communication, fashion, and I also think a few space designers. And I challenged them to say, okay, one, what can you do? How do you see your role in this? Two, what is it that you don't have? And how can we help you to become the masters of creating this sustainable, inclusive, and beautiful future? And we got a lot of very, very good sort of latches that I thought this is actually so strong and so complete that I turned it into a coherent manifesto on behalf of the students. As designers, we can and will take on the role as future makers, but we will not succeed if we do it on our own. We need to start the conversation with all the other forces with whom we will face the challenge, and to do that, we need a space where that conversation can take place, with the natural sciences and the humanities, with corporations, and with those who have the power, the means, and the courage to face our challenge and to change what needs to be changed. As designers, in close collaboration with other professions and across design disciplines, we can create timeless and durable products, sensitive not only to the needs of our users, but also to nature's needs. We can create memorable and impactful communication that makes being responsible citizens trendy and cool by reframing the image of what good design is and what a good life is. And by building awareness of the consequences of not changing, in the design community and in the world around us by showcasing the worst case scenarios we know exist. As designers, we can communicate new ideas that are outside of society's current comfort zone, but in an attractive way with concrete visions and plans for the future. By cultivating our own awareness, knowledge, and relationship with nature and the world at large, we can influence both the public and the key figures who have the power to make a difference. We have the talent, but we need more knowledge about how we make one man's trash another man's treasure. We therefore urge you to educate both us and society about the impact of our choices on our planet, so that we can convince people to choose more sustainable and environmentally friendly options. We urge you to encourage and facilitate teamwork and multidisciplinarity, and to help us define a clear role for us as designers. We need your help to switch the world's focus from design's contribution to what we see in a final product to our contribution throughout the value chain. And at the same time, as we need more knowledge of the world and its challenges, we also urge you to allow us to nurture our crafts so that we understand the materials we work with and where they come from. Just as we need you to provide us with role models and best practices from which we can learn. And most of all, we urge you to give us the chance to shape the future as part of inclusive and diverse teams, so that we can learn from and empower each other. Only then we will get the recognition that we deserve, and only then we can meet the expectations to us as laid out in the vision behind the new European Bauhaus. I think this is strong. Could you please just show who you are, those of you who were part of that class? Because I think this is powerful stuff. Thank you.
And I think the most powerful part of it is that what you are saying and what you're calling for is exactly what we are saying that we are willing to give to you, and that we believe that you need to lift this challenge together with us. So thank you so much for your input. I think it's fantastic in 3 hours to come up with this. And I also think that all the rest of you who are here showing the engagement and the interest in this issue, I think you just show what you said, the 21st century and those coming after us, they are really, they've got it. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you. I guess we had really, thank you so much. You were great panelists, and the outcome of this debate was quite emotional. Thank you so much. And Steiner, thank you, very lucid host. And before we part, I shall ask for some words. Our Dean, Nada, would you like to say some words? I think you started and you should conclude.
As always, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart to all our speakers today, but not only today. I would like to thank you for the whole week, because we learned all the time. Not only you students, you dearest students, we are learning. Design is a process, as we know. And we heard today, we can dream, we can feel. We are living design lives for 24 hours a day, but it is the most beautiful, not a profession, the most beautiful way of life. I would like to thank you very much, especially thanks today, I have to say, to our organizational committee. I would like to invite Miss Helena with her staff to give all these flowers free flowers are for our ladies from abroad, but this is for your team Tamara, come on. Jan, come on, please. Domen, no roses, but for your wife, perhaps. What should I say?
Wow, lucky one, his wife.
Blažka, without you.
Thank you. Hvala lepa, Nada.
Patience. Also for this knowledge from Portugal.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Hvala. Oh no, oh no. You see? Hvala. Yeah. The pink one for you. Hvala lepa. I think that most roses should be given to Nada, right? Yes, but let's give her a big applause for now. Hvala, Nada. So I think that I could say that we are almost to the end, came to the end. Thank you I would like to extend my thanks to all the distinguished speakers today. You were really, it was amazing to hear from you. Thank you. I think we wrote that dynamic story that I mentioned in the beginning, and this story will keep writing itself for many years to come, because I guess we'll meet in Ljubljana again next year. Thank you. I would like to invite you all to some beautiful events that are prepared within the month of design. And of course, I wish you a pleasant day and stay in Ljubljana. Hvala lepa vsem, and well, be happy. Thank you.